Justice alone of the virtues is the good of others, because it does what is for the advantage of another, either a ruler or an associate. Conversely, the worst man is he who practices vice towards his friends, as well as in regard to himself. The best man is not he who practices virtue in regard to himself, but he who practices it toward others, for that is a difficult task. In this sense, then, justice is not just a part of virtue, but the whole of virtue, and its opposite, injustice, is not a part of vice, but the whole of vice. The distinction between virtue and justice, in this sense, being clear from what has been said, they are the same quality of mind, but their essence different. What is displayed in relation to others is justice, as being simply a disposition of a certain kind is virtue. Good evening, everybody. It's your favorite aspiring revolutionary here, a wandering author, reminding you that we are all the authors of our own lives. As always, my message remains the same: spend less, live more, earn your freedom with frugality. Obviously, we're talking about Book 5 of the Nichomachean Ethics today, but we've got a pretty swanky setup because the company, which shall remain nameless, that I am training with to become a manager for my home, which is on the streets where I was born, to manage a team of streetmongers, mongrels, paid for the hotel room, so that was very nice of them. And I got to meet them in person today. Nice folk. At least they seem so. Of course, working in the persuasive industry, most people tend to seem fairly nice up front. So it's time to speak about justice. I did get to go skating after work today, or training. I skated probably 10 miles, and then I went to the gym. Now we're doing this. I did a little bit of biking this morning. I think I'll still be able to work and stay in good shape, is what I'm getting at. And what I opened with there, as always, my message remains the same: spend less, live more, earn your freedom with frugality. And what I opened with there is some quotes from the first chapter of Book 5 of Aristotle's Nichomachean Ethics. And all of Book 5 is devoted to justice. And if you're like me, the first thing that comes to your head is law and order, as for you. Because nothing showcases how justice works in its beauty, elegance, and form better than that show, as we all know. But unfortunately, it was not produced in Aristotle's time, so he did not have that work to draw inspiration from. However, justice, at least for Aristotle, and it is good to at least consider this perspective, like in all philosophy, wasn't just about lawfulness, which is one definition to be just, that which is lawful, but also for him that which is equal or fair. And at the same time, unfairness and injustice are closely related concepts. So, in Greek, the word that he uses, dikaiosune, is most frequently translated as justice. And remember, the Greek that Aristotle's using is the same Greek that the New Testament of the Bible was written in. So this word does show up in the New Testament several times. And it encompasses righteousness, covering all right conducts in relation to others, and it includes the narrower sense confined to right conduct when profit or loss are involved. So not just like treating others well, like interpersonally when you're just hanging out with your buddies, but also in business, treating people respectfully. And not just respectfully, but deservedly. That's the best word that comes off the top of my head, right? This book is devoted to moral virtue, justice, honesty, or uprightness in English. And again, justice, quoting, is the moral disposition which renders man apt to do just things and which just causes them to act justly. So, and further, to wish what is just. Conversely, on the other hand, injustice is the disposition which makes men act unjustly or wish what is unjust. So, my dad would call that being an asshole. generally, or being a selfish prick, right? So Aristotle starts his inquiry by discussing how we come about to knowing things, what philosophers call his epistemology. When it comes to character or disposition, we can infer things from their opposites. That's, again, why he typically puts all of the virtues on a sliding scale, where, the perfect way to act is the golden mean. Like I said to my buddy who was talking to me the other day, the right way to treat a woman. When I was younger, I used to be one of those guys who put girls up on pedestals. And then you've got those guys that live in trailer parks that just beat women all the time. The right way, as Aristotle would say, is clearly, therefore, somewhere in between pedestalizing and beating women. And he does the same thing with justice. However, with justice, he's a little more nuanced. It's not exactly just a mean. He's got several different categories, and he's particularly specific on this one, which is why it goes through a whole book instead of just a chapter or two. Now, for example, we can when it comes to character as disposition, we can infer things from their opposites. For example, we can recognize unhealthy people if we are familiar with healthy ones. Quoting, "Thus, supposing good condition and firmness of flesh, and condition must be flabbiness of flesh." No, wait. Injustice and justice both have multiple meanings, so we need to differentiate them before forging ahead with our philosophical inquiry. And that's where this comes at. So his two main meanings for both justice and injustice is his number one meaning for an unjust person is taking more than one's fair share. And then the number two one is breaking the law. So we see where Aristotle's head was at, right? As the unjust man is one who takes the larger share, he will be unjust in respect of good things. Not all good things, but those on which good and bad fortune depend. Book 5, Chapter 1, Section 9. Unfairness can refer to taking too much of a good thing or taking too little of a bad one, which to me sounds like the difference between a boss and a leader, because I've been considering these concepts a lot because I am venturing into a leadership position, again, at least in some capacity, and I think the difference between bosses and leaders is a leader is someone who's going to get in the trenches with you, essentially. So, in other words, a leader is fairer, at least. Justice also deals with the law, but it's not just fairness, even though fairness is one aspect of justice. Anything that abides the law can be said to be just in at least one sense of the word. And Aristotle, quoting him, "All the various pronouncement of the law aim either at the common interest of all, or at the interest of a ruling class, determined either by excellence or in some other similar way." Now, remember, Aristotle lives in this fantasy world. Even though he chastises Plato's world of forms, much of his work reads like it was written there. Hashtag philosophical jokes. Justice prescribes codes of conduct, such as prohibiting thievery and adultery. In a perfect world, the law would prescribe perfectly virtuous conduct, which I think is right. I hesitate to give myself any political label, but if I gave myself one, it would have to be an anarchist of some sort. And if there were laws, because anarchy would be lawlessness entirely, but if there were laws at all, they should be written to prescribe virtuous conduct. So I agree with Aristotle there. Justice, then, in this sense, is a perfect virtue. And then some of those quotes that I ended the day with. So hashtag clarify. And then, so he goes into more, he breaks down the different kinds of justice and talks about how later on in this, next time we talk about it. And the reason why this is relevant is because whether we are dealing in business or whether we're dealing with friends or family, it's important for us to consider what is the right thing to do, what is the just thing to do. And unless we've considered what those concepts mean in the first place, how could we expect to execute just decisions, right? Anyways, each one of these sticky notes is an episode just on Aristotle's Nichomachean ethics. I've got several more notebooks full of sticky notes, not just on Aristotle's works, but on all kinds of topics that I have put together over the summer so that I can, whenever I am actually working again, which I will be, to keep doing this. Hopefully within the next month or two, I'll be in a house that I own of my own doing this. But anyways, this is a wandering author here, reminding you that we are all the authors of our own lives. As always, my message remains the same: spend less, live more, earn your freedom with frugality. What are you guys doing in order to inspire, uplift, and empower your local community today? Because this world isn't changing unless we all do our part. You can count on me to do my daily. Till next time, I love y'all.